Hey, it's Pose and Tone with you right now. We have legendary Blue Island bass player, you guessed it, Chip Z'Nuff. What was it like when you first started?
It was like any other band out there, learning our craft. We rehearsed quite a bit in a little place in Blue Island, Illinois. Grandma and Grandpa McNulty's basement, right off 127th and Western. And basically it was just Donnie and myself. There was nobody else around. Had a little drum set. We had a 4-track Tascam, and we recorded the drums and a rhythm guitar for the first track. And then we would both sing on another track, and I would play bass. And then we do guitar overdubs. And it was just a two-piece. It was like the before the White Stripes. And we found ourselves in a good position where we had wonderful ideas about songs, about everyday experiences that we went through, and perhaps the audience would as well. We had no audience, of course, except for some friends of ours in our hometown. And that's who we turned our music onto. And they all said, "You got some great stuff here. You guys ought to put a band together." And then eventually we found a little bit of an audience. There was a little station, a WVBX here in Chicago, that would start playing Enuff Z'Nuff in the early days. And that gave us a little bit of a break. And by the way, on those recordings we did, we had nobody helping us whatsoever. It was just us against the world. Until we were at a place in Blue Island, Illinois, hanging out at nighttime looking for trim. And it was very scantly night where there wasn't much action happening. But we met this guy, and he says, "Yeah, what are you guys doing?" We said, "I've got a band. We're called Enuff Z'Nuff. We're just trying to get money up to do some proper recordings." And he says, "Well, good luck, you guys." And he split. And about a half hour later, he came back and gave me $500 and says, "Here, let's help you guys start recording." And that night I called Star Trek's recording studio in the south side of Chicago, and the engineer picked up at 1:00 in the morning. And he says, "Yeah, what can I help you with?" I said, "We're looking to record a record." He says, "Well, when do you guys want to come in?" And we said, "Right now." And he goes, "Well, as a matter of fact, I just got done tweaking up the drums. Come on in." And that was the start of everything for Enuff Z'Nuff. We recorded Catholic Girls Day by Day and Hollywood Squares the first night, which was off our album 1985. And that was the catalyst to Enuff Z'Nuff actually starting to be a recording act. And then, of course, we played every single gig you could think of on the south side of Chicago. We're opening up for Cheap Trick and Guess Who and BTO and whoever would have us, and no money at all. We just we bring our equipment there, throw it in the van, drive over to the gig, set it all up, play 45 or half an hour set, and try to pillage the fans that were already there to see the other bands. And eventually paid off for us because after years of painstakingly recording records and hanging out in clubs, just trying to find some action, we met Doc McGee in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin at Royal Recorders. And he says, "I got 3 cassette tapes in my car. 2 of them are your band. I know somebody that would be interested in your band. I'm going to give them to him." And I said, "Oh, man, I appreciate that. Thanks so much." He was a Chicago guy. Doc's been here for a long time. That's where he grew up. So we sat and waited, and eventually ran into Derek Showman at Atco Atlantic Records, flew to Chicago to see us at dress rehearsal. It's a debacle of a rehearsal. It was terrible. Everybody was drinking and partying and having a good time. There was tons of fans in there. When I say tons of fans, I'm saying, 20, 30 chicks watching us perform. And he thought it was good. He seen something there that he thought was special and sent us over a facsimile the following day for a record deal for $225,000. We had nothing. We didn't have a pot to piss in. We were working jobs. Donnie and I were doing heating and air conditioning and construction jobs just to make pennies and pay our rent that we were always behind on anyway. And eventually got a little bit of a break there, and ended up signing the record deal. And then our lives changed exponentially. And that was the start for us right there. We took that record and we ended up recording the whole thing in a couple of weeks. got charged an exorbitant amount of money for doing it. We probably did the record for, 10, 15 grand, but the people that owned the studio said, no, you guys had recordings where you spent this much money, and we put you up in a place to live, and we paid for all your expenses, and you guys owe us 80 grand. And we're like, oh, something isn't right here. And they wanted to own the publishing too of the songs. They said, oh, the songs, that doesn't mean shit. You guys will be fine. You'll make millions of dollars if the record sells. And I went around and asking all my constituents, is it right to give a publishing deal up for 20 grand? And they said, absolutely not. You never talked to us, and we never spoke about this, but we hear these stories all the time. Keep your publishing. So we ended up firing that manager, and we kept the other guy, the day-to-day guy. His name was Bob Brigham. We kept him on board because he knew what was going on. He had a good reputation as far as good disposition, knew people, knows how to treat people, was really good with the books. And you could tell that the common denominator for him was the same as us. Let's go out and make a record and go out and tour around the country and support it. And we finished the record. We called Paul Lanny, who just finished Peace Sells and Who's Buying by Megadeth, to come in and mix the record. And then we knew we had something great after that. And then we waited and waited for months until the record company said, okay, we're going to release the record. Flew to New York, met the guys at over at MTV, Rick Krim, most notably, Abby Conowitz, and some of the other powers that were working there. And we got along really great because we all had the same love for music. They were big fans of like Jellyfish and Dan Reed Network, and I thought, this could be a good opportunity for us here. And we made a video. We shot a video for under 100 grand in New York and Los Angeles as well, and took that video and gave it to the people at MTV, and they thought it was great because they wanted something real colorful and flamboyant. And we didn't have a pot to piss in at the time. We had no money, even though they gave us money to do the record. That was the only dough that we seen. We went out and bought brand new equipment and cars and made sure we could pay our rent at our apartments. There wasn't much money to play with. There was not a lot of wiggle room there. We found time, though, to put the record out there and go out and support it. And the very first tour was going out with Mr. Big. And so where we actually played to a decent audience outside of the bands that we opened with in the past. And we found that there was a significant following out there that liked that kind of music. And then we went out with Badlands and J.K. Lee right after that. And that's when the record took off and MTV started playing the video. And before you know it, I said goodbye to my wife and daughter. I'll see you guys in a month. And I was gone for a year and a half. I bamboozled them. Yeah, I had no idea. We got on that tour bus. It pulled up in front of my crib. And I remember days before it, I was outside. I was packing up equipment, getting it all ready to go. And a guy pulled up in my parking lot, and he got out. And I go, hey, how you doing? What can I help you with? He goes, you ever hear of Doc McGee? I said, I certainly have. And he says, that's my son. And I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. I go, come on and have a cup of coffee. So I brought him in the house. We started talking and stuff. And then this is before Doc was even managing the band. And I said, yeah, I met Doc over at Raw Records in Lake Geneva. And he says, yeah, I should talk to him about you guys. And I said, man, any help would be appreciated. We got some action happening right now, though. We're going to be going out on tour. Got a bus coming here in a couple of days to pick us up. And he says, yeah, I'll talk to my son. And it just so happens that Doc was telling me about it. He says, my dad, he would come out and see all the groups when we would play. I'd fly him out to Los Angeles to go see Motley Crue, and he would ask his dad, he goes, yeah, what do you think of these guys? And his father would say, I don't hear it right here, son. This and that. I don't think this would be good for you. And that was Doc's his mode operas to want to sign the band. He would say, okay, if my dad don't like the band and they don't have what it takes, that's a band I'm going to sign. And that's why he started Motley Crue. So, it's funny. His father tells him that, I met these guys at Enuff Z'Nuff. And then Doc goes, oh yeah, I met him in the Raw Records in Lake Geneva. And then we have a meeting in New York. And Doc goes, yeah, I'd love to manage the band. I think you guys got something special here. But first thing you have to do is change your album cover, because it was a picture of Enuff Z'Nuff in a dilapidated hotel room in Chicago. This guy named Tony DiOrio, photographer, shot all these pictures. And we spent a good $30,000 in there to do a photo shoot that we couldn't use. But he's seen a peace sign tattoo on Donnie's arm, and he says, that's a good thing. He goes, that looks cool, and it means cool things. That perhaps you guys might want to use that for the album cover. And here we are now, known as the Peace Sign Band.
Yeah, and so we remember those videos.
Oh,
or
yeah.
at least the main one, the one with all the clouds.
New Thing was the first one, right?
Yeah, the New Thing was the first video. We shot that one and on the West Coast. And then we came back to New York, and the record company would only let one person come out for the editing, and it was me. And I showed up there, and the video sucked. I knew that wouldn't get any action. And we looked like buffoons. It was just a real flamboyant, kissing the cameras and shaking our asses, and it was taking away more than it was helping the songs. And I went in, I go, do we have any other footage, guys? And they were pulling up stuff. I go, yeah, use that piece right there for that. And yeah, I gave all the suggestions, at least 100 edits. And we were there for a good 10, 12 hours. And we got it all through, and I thank goodness that he had to let me do that. And then we took that video and gave it to MTV, and then they started playing it. And it was the fans that, wasn't us, it was the fans that got on the phones and would call in. They'd have the top 10 countdown, and it'd be Motley Crue and Skid Row and Poison, and it was a whole glam thing that was happening there. And they wanted something that was colorful and flamboyant. And it was a perfect video, perfect antidote for what MTV was looking for. And really, that gave us some legs on that tour. And every single night, it was just like, we needed security because we were getting attacked like bums on surf and turfs with the trim. It was incredible. The power of TV is really special. And that was my drug, by the way. I never fell into anything else because I smoked a little bit of pot with the boys, but I was into hanging out with girls, just like the guys in Kiss and Queen and all the bands out there and Motley Crue. They all got in the music business for not to make money. We got in because we love the music and we love trim. That was it.
Wow, that's awesome. I remember I got a picture with you and me and Ace Frehley.
Oh yeah, Ace, what a great buddy. I got him a killer tour. We were playing the House of Blues in Chicago, and Michael Yerke booked it for us. I miss Michael Yerke. What a great guy. He got so many gigs for Enuff Z'Nuff in the early days. He'd help all the younger bands. He just gave them a chance and put them on tours. If people were coming through town, he would call me. If it was Michael Schenker playing, or Uli Roth, or White Snake, whoever it would be, Missing Persons, who I used to play with. He'd say, "You guys want to open for these cats?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." We'd do all those early shows, man. That was a lot of fun playing there. So we were opening for Ace Frehley there, and my agent from Artists Worldwide, Chuck Burnell, called me. He says, "Hey man, you guys are playing with Ace. Why don't you ask him if he wants to do this tour in South America? I'll get him $300,000." So we just finished our show. I'm all sweaty. I walk in the room. I go, "Ace." And Ace always thought I was his cousin. He always he goes, "You look just like my cousin. Come here." And he just was loving to me beyond belief. And we knew each other from the early days too, back in the 80s when Enuff Z'Nuff first got a deal back in 89. And I said, "My agent called and he's got a tour for you guys." And he goes, "Oh, you got to call Kevin, my agent." And I said, "No, listen, if you just give me an A-OK, I can call him back and tell him you're on. It's $300,000 for 8 shows." He goes, "All right, I'll do it. Are you going to open for us?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Enuff Z'Nuff will support you guys." He goes, "Okay, Chip, I'll do it." So I called my agent. I told him about it. And for some reason, Ace wanted too many people to come with him. He sent in to the agency over in Australia, or where it was, South America, 13 people he wanted to fly to come in and participate with the shows with him. So there wasn't enough money for Enuff Z'Nuff to go out and do it. And that bummed me out. But then later on, to make it up, I realized they were doing a tour in North America. And I reached out to him. I said, "Man, we'd love to do that tour with you guys." And they're all great rooms, all theaters, and all sold out already. Didn't need anybody to open for them. And he goes, "Okay, Chip, I'll pull you guys in on this." So the favor came back to me. I got 24 shows opening for Ace Frehley in North America. And it was, Los Angeles, Detroit, Philadelphia, Seattle, Portland, working our way all around the country. It was great. And they had a tour bus, and he was flying everywhere, by the way. But his band had a tour bus, and we had a little dinky little minivan. We had to throw our drums in there, our amplifiers, our guitars, our suitcase. We somehow got it in there. And us 4 went out. We'd open every single show for Ace. And he was charming beyond belief. He would come to my dressing room every night with a box of dozen donuts and a bunch of cookies and candies and stuff and sweets, because he knew Enuff Z'Nuff wasn't making any money on the tour. and he wanted to take care of us. So he evidently thought we had a sweet tooth. We weren't doing drugs then, so that was going to make up for our substance abuse past problems. And he fed us every single day. It was great. He'd walk into the venue. He'd see me, walk up to me and give me a hug. How are you? How's the crowd? I go, it's jam-packed tonight, bro. He goes, where's my dressing room, Chip? I said, right there. He goes, okay, I'll see you later. He never talked to anyone else, just me every single day. And I thought, how charming is that? And then after gigs, Ace would go to his bus and he would do these meet and greets. And he would make more money in the meet and greets than he would at the shows, because there'll be 200-300 fans lined up outside his bus waiting for a picture and an autograph. And he was really good about that, very transparent, wanted to hang out with the fans. He made a Brinks truck full of money on those gigs. And then he made tons more on the meet and greets. I learned a lot about that. Now we don't even charge for meet and greets, by the way. We just want to hang out with the fans because I think that's the most important thing to do. The people spend their money. It's expensive it is to get into a show as we speak right now. So any band that's out there that's going to go out and meet the fans without charging them, that's a nice thing. So we stand alone right there. But Ace's band, they were great to us every single night. All the guys and Kiss would show up at the gigs, and Pearl Jam and Cheap Trick, and they'd come up and sit up on stage and play. And Ace would call me up too to sit in and play with the band as well. So those are great moments that we had together. And he'll be missed for sure. But I'll be playing some of his songs when we open for Kiss at the Kiss convention, and that's November 12th or the 15th once again in Virgin Hotels. That's it.
It's just great to hear that you're keeping it alive, because that's one thing, especially even with the newer bands. We love the fact that, rock and roll and heavy metal is being kept alive. So it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're all swimming in the same lake, you guys. But listen, I know Donnie Vie, as far as I'm concerned, is the quintessential singer of my generation. Guy's got great pipes, a wonderful writer, and he's my brother. We had a wonderful run. I can't tell him what he wants to do. He chose to leave, and I accepted that. And instead of just packing up my bags and saying, okay, I'm going to jump into another group like Missing Persons or Adler's Appetite or London Choir Boys, all bands that I toured with and played bass with. I said, I think there's still gas in the tank of Enuff Z'Nuff, and I still got songs. I want to put them out there, and I want to keep the name out of the abyss. So Donnie says, if you're going to continue as Enuff Z'Nuff, you should sing the songs because you produced them and you wrote them with me. And when you walk on stage, people will know it's Enuff Z'Nuff. And I took his word for it. And here I am now, 12, 13 years later, and I'm fronting the band, and we seem to be moving pretty well.
Extra Cherries is really good too. I like that album a lot, especially Heartbeat's probably my favorite on there.
Appreciate that. That's the record. That's a nice collaboration area. You got Steve Brown from Trickster playing with us, along with Steve Stevens from Billy Idol's band. I go back years and years and played with Steve long. Played on some demos with Steve years ago. He's still sounding and looking better than ever. And of course, Robert Fleischman, former singer of Journey, who wrote "Wheel in the Sky" with Neil Schon, and Donnie, both on all three of them on the record on the song "Shine." Robert Fleischman's got a new solo record out right now called Emotional Atlas. If you want to check that out, I'm playing bass on that whole record. There's some good stuff. I've been putting a lot of things out you don't really hear a lot about because we're at a time where there's too much product, not enough demand. I'm on a new Choir Boys record too as well, with Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, and Margaret record I did last year with her with Joe Perry from Aerosmith. There's good stuff. I sound like I'm bragging. I'm just trying to get cramming in right now. Let you guys know out there that I'm on a lot of records. I that's what I do. I dedicate my life to playing music. I help out the younger bands. I'm on iHeartRadio every single day on the Monster Rock Show. And you can find us on iHeartRadio every day. It's a huge audience. And I just live my life and breathe rock and roll, heavy metal, guys. That's what I do. And I appreciate anybody that follows us. We got some good songs. We got a strong band. And as long as I'm still breathing, I'll be taking this show on the road.